make
This
sure that we
conference will now be recorded.
let's, the time being 48 PM, I'd like to call this meeting of September 21st, 2023 to order. Also, the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to table, if the board would let me, the minutes. We have three sets to the end of the meeting so that we can move on. We have a very, very tight meeting list, and we have to be out of here at 6:45 for the Gassett meeting. You okay with that?
Sure.
Everyone? Okay. I make a motion to accept the $500 donation from My Box for the flour barrels.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
thank
Oh,
you,
yeah.
My Box.
Yep, absolutely. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next on our agenda is Steve Bunce. Do I have to pronounce that right? Is our ZBA alternate candidate. So come on up to the mic. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about
Hi,
who you are.
I'm Steve Bunce. 2 years ago, me and my wife bought Moonlight Kennels just up the street. I'm a dog trainer. I grew up in Connecticut, lived in Massachusetts for a few years, and then kept moving north. I grew up in a small town, and my dad, my sister, all my cousins, they're all on boards, zoning boards. My brother's the rec director. Two of my uncles have been the first selectmen, so just want to kind of keep that tradition going up here.
Okay. Go ahead, Joe.
What, if any, applicable experience do you have?
Well, I guess family history of hearing about what's going on in these meetings would help. But I run a small business. I employ a few people. I feel I do a pretty good job with that. So
Would you be coming to the meetings in your capacity as alternate, even if there was a full board?
yeah, I plan to. I plan to come to every meeting, kind of understand, figure out how things work, and then hopefully step in when I have to.
Are you willing to take a course here and there if available to you at New Hampshire Municipal Association on it?
For sure, definitely.
Have you read anything in our zoning ordinances or the procedures?
Yeah, so I read quite a bit of the zoning a few years when I first purchased a property. I was thinking about expanding the business. I kind of read up there. Just a few days ago, I read through the master plan just to kind of familiarize myself with that and understand the trajectory of the town. But I've read through some of it. I'm sure there's more that I could read through.
Read anything about zoning board of adjustment? That in particular is a quasi judicial board, and the decisions they make have a huge impact on the zoning in this town.
Yeah, no, I haven't read any other than some zoning things online about how the town is zoned and things like that. But no, I mean, I would definitely be interested in reading more about that.
Okay. All right. Nice to put a face to the name.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you
always
for
nice
having
to
me.
meet new people that come to town and want to be a part of the community, especially join in and volunteer.
A question,
Sure.
what do you understand the purpose of the zoning board?
So from what I take from it, the zoning board approves or denies potential, I guess for lack of better terms, like close calls with the zoning. So if somebody wants to put in a park, like for example, my neighbor has, he just got a letter from the zoning board. The physical therapy place is looking to expand their parking lot. No, I don't know if it's written out in the zoning that they're allowed to do that or if they have to go to the abutting properties, but the zoning board kind of oversees that and makes sure that things get approved that kind of match up with what the direction the town wants to go.
Describe the planning board.
Yeah, kind of. You guys would be the backstop for that. They don't go to the zoning board unless they're looking for a variance
A variance,
to the zoning
an exception.
ordinances.
Okay, so I guess,
Right.
yeah, so for example, that parking lot, right, it
Right.
must not be in the zoning, so then they
Mhm.
want to expand.
So an exception to the rule.
Correct, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
You need to do some studying.
I'm open to all of it.
There are publications available to you. There's a law book they put out for planning and zoning. The Municipal Association sends out a handbook. And the state of New Hampshire also publishes a handbook for planning and zoning. Zoning is such a, I'm going to call it a unique board. It's a very important board because it can make our town look a lot different than the master plan intended it to look. Let's put it that way. But if you're not adverse to doing some studying,
No, not at all.
excellent. Thank you.
Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Very happy to have somebody sign up.
Absolutely,
Right.
100%.
Do you get big thank yous for that?
Right, exactly. So, yeah, welcome on board. Pass that around if everybody, where you want to go.
Any questions for us, Steve?
No, I don't think so. So the structure of the selectmen's is a little bit different from my hometown and what I'm used to. So,
Yeah.
My hometown, there's a first selectman, second selectman, third selectman. So this is more of a group of selectmen. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's 5 of us. Some towns have 3. And then we just have a chair and a vice chair. And the duty of the chair is the agenda and facilitate the meeting. And that's pretty much it. And then the vice chair fills in when the chair is not available.
What town are you from?
In here? Or where, what do you mean? I live in Tilton, but
Well, I know you live in Tilton, but where are you from?
I grew up in North Canyon, Connecticut. So I was born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts.
Oh, nice.
Little different structure on boards in Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's a pretty small town though.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about the same size as Tilton, actually.
I grew up in Western Massachusetts and we had and it was the same thing, first selectman, second selectman,
Yeah.
et cetera. And here I
So
am,
can we
glutton for
ask,
punishment, right?
Jeannie to make sure he gets copies.
Jeannie, or is it
Pretty
the head of the
quiet.
zoning board? Because they may have.
The copies of the books.
Because when I came on the budget, it was,
Well,
I got
Leanne may not be aware of the one that I mentioned from the state
Or the state one,
where
right?
Jeannie is. So
Right.
Jeannie,
Yeah.
And he knows the state
and I'm
one.
sure Jeannie will go to Leanne, but she'll reiterate those publications.
Joe, you're the last one in line, so if you want to take a minute just to swear him in, you're.
Sure. We got the top spot on the list.
I left it for you. Figured after meeting with lawyers last night, you needed the top spot for something, so.
Okay.
Is your guys' position a full-time position or part-time or how's it work?
It
24/7.
depends on the week, so.
Part-time as
This,
well?
this week, the last couple of days, we're kind of full-time.
Yeah.
No, but it's an elected position and it's part-time, other than we have to be open to contact with the public and they can call us and email us, et cetera.
The pay's pretty good. It's about 24 cents, or actually 0.24 cents.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Whereas there's a vacancy as the alternate member of the zoning board for a term of 3 years in the town of Tilton, county of Belknap, we, subscribers have confidence in your ability and integrity to perform the duties of said office. We do hereby appoint you, and upon your taking oath of said office, recorded by the town clerk, you shall have the powers, perform the duties, and be subject to the liabilities of such office until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead. I.
Good buns.
All right, good enough. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully
from all the duties incumbent upon me
too much and perform
as a zoning board member
as a zoning board
to
member
the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
agreeably to the rules and regulations,
agreeably to the
Constitution,
of the Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and the laws of the state of New
So
Hampshire.
help me God.
So help me God.
There you go. Congratulations.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Jesse.
Thank you.
Bring my dogs. Unruly bunch.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
Average of about 7 pounds each. but
Yep,
they're good.
they're unruly, okay.
They
Thank you, Steve. Have a great
Good evening. Bye-bye. Okay, we have the DPW Director, Kevin DeVal, for a quarterly report. Hi, Kev.
Hello.
Bring this in lieu of Jeannie.
Speaking of glasses, I need to start bringing my glasses.
Don't leave home without them.
Yep. I need to start hanging out
Longer
here.
arms, that's all. We're told.
So hi. First off, I wanted to mention our new hire, George, is doing very well, settling in nicely. Very pleasant guy to work with, eager to do anything you ask him to do. He's working well with the rest of the crew, which is important to me. It's important to the rest of the crew as well. But I wanted to start off the meeting by mentioning that it's refreshing to have a new hire working out well and not being abrasive. So I've got looking forward to some good things in the future. I've been working closely with Tim on my budget for next year. Obviously, with the recycle center starting up and some other things that we're tackling next year, my budget is going to change. I am working with Tim on fine tuning that. For the budget committee, I know the meetings will start soon, so I'll try to be prepared for those. They are quite intense sometimes, but that's okay. I wanted to mention that we just had our Red Vest Day at the new recycle center building. The Red Vest Day is where Lowe's supplied a bunch of volunteers, and they came and helped us paint the inside. It went very well. There was roughly 13 people there and made quick work of the paint. We ended up with 2 coats of primer on the inside plywood. I wanted to mention that the inside of the building is plywood that's been attached with screws, only because in the past I've seen shops have accidents with machinery. There's going to be machinery in the building. I wanted to be able to replace a sheet of plywood easily to keep it looking nice. Accidents are going to happen, yes, but I want to be able to replace a piece of plywood instead of trying to repair sheetrock, which never looks nice after it's repaired. And the longevity of plywood is inherently more than sheetrock. The electrical system or the electrical conduit is going to be on the exposed wall. And I knew that running plywood was going to be easier for the electricians to run their metal conduit and have all the outlets on the outside. So there was a lot of thought into using plywood instead of other materials on the inside. It led to 2 coats of primer paint. So now we can paint an actual coat of paint, which is going to be a lighter color of green than the forest green that's on the outside of the building. Wanted to go with green just to keep it with the recycle idea. So that project, and now that Red Vest Day is done and the painting is done, now I'm continuing with the construction of framing in the windows, framing in the doors, and buttoning up the construction. The 3-phase power is supposed to be completed in the next few weeks. We just got the inspection done from the fire department and the building inspector. They both gave their tag of approval, and now Eversource will come in and finish the 3-phase construction. I am working with Jeannie on purchasing a baler where I'm researching the manufacturers to make sure that the one that we get is going to perform how we need it to perform. This past year has been a learning curve for us, learning experience for us, because we've been able to see the volume of material coming in that we can actually recycle. That information is going to be very helpful when it comes time to purchase a baler. I want to make sure that it's capable of producing the amount of bales that we need to produce. So over the next few weeks, we'll be fine tuning that choice, and I'm sure we'll present to the board before we purchase anything or proceed any further. I wanted to mention the paving project was completed in the Chestnut, Prospect Street areas. The crew has shored up the edges. There were a few spots missed. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll fine tune that to make sure it's all in good shape for this winter. We took care in using loam and grass seed where the road was abutting somebody's lawn, and things of that nature, just trying to bring our project just to a higher level of quality. And I know the residents appreciate that. They've come out and said so to the crews, which is nice. I had a meeting with the concrete company for the impound lot concrete pad. Last week, I met with Bayside Construction. They're looking to be here the first week of October. The excavator will be moved here on site tomorrow or next Monday. We will start prepping the area. I have 2 crew members set aside to do that so that it's prepped for the concrete to be installed. The other project that's coming up is the Main Street sidewalk, south side, including the T-Hop parking lot. I refer to it as T-Hop parking lot. I forget the letter that's associated with it. But that parking lot and the south side sidewalk is going to be done October 1st, October 2nd, and possibly October 3rd. Because it is overnight hours, we're not sure how long it's actually going to take us. A project like that during the day would only take 2 days, but we're trying to minimize interaction with residents and the congestion of traffic, and also trying to coordinate when T-Hop is not open. I was told that they are planning on starting October 1st. The crew is aware that we'll be adjusting our hours to working the overnight hours without having overtime. So they'll be working overnight and having the following day off. They appreciated that. Obviously, if there's an emergency or if something comes up, everybody is available. But so it'll be nice to see that project completed, or at least started. I know the binder will be laid this year, and then the top will be put down next spring. But that'll actually help us maintain that in the wintertime because it won't take so much salt to remove the ice, and it'll expedite cleanup as well because of all the nooks and crannies and crevices and potholes and uneven pavement down through there. So I'm excited to see that come about and get done. The other thing that I would like to mention is I had a meeting with Porter Paving, and they are slated to start on Morrison Ave third week of October, which was engineered that way to give the water department enough time to finish their upgrade to their system. I had spoken with the sewer department and was given the green light to proceed. The sewer infrastructure was in good shape for that road. So there was no delays associated with that. So I will keep you posted on that.
Is there gas running down Morrison?
Yes.
Yes.
And the gas company knows this is happening? Okay.
Yep. I am made contact with a field supervisor with Liberty Utilities a few months ago, and we've established some really good communication with projects. I have his direct cell phone number and email address. So any projects in the future, as long as I give him 3 or 4 weeks notice, he can take care of everything that he has to take care of with his structures in the road, which is very helpful to me. In the past, I've had to track down somebody, and hopefully the word gets to the right person. But Liberty is actually doing a lot of work in Tilton this year, and I think that he saw the need to put himself out there and make himself available for these projects. So that was nice to see. I think that's about it. The only other thing I wanted to mention was the equipment is being fine-tuned for this winter. Going through all the systems, making sure everything is in good shape. The multi one, I don't know if you remember my report a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, I should say. The multi one had broke down. The hydraulic system failed. I removed the hydraulic pump assembly and sent it to New Hampshire Hydraulics. They were able to generate an estimate for me of $3,200 to have it fixed. It was going to take a week to get the parts, a week to build the pump assembly and get it back to me. The multi one is going to be very important for our beginning stages of the recycle facility because of the forks and its mobility in getting in and out of the building and handling the recycling materials. So I went ahead and authorized the repair of the pump assembly. I should have it back this week. This following week, next Monday or Tuesday. It'll be installed in the machine and it'll be back up and running. So that I was anticipating a much larger dollar amount for repair. So when I was told $3,200, which included the labor, cost of materials, and the shipping, I thought that it was kind of a blessing considering where the machine came from. I have a long history working with New Hampshire Hydraulics from my drill rig days and other places that I've worked in the past. They are hands down the best company that I know of to work with hydraulics, especially unknown hydraulic systems. They were very helpful in getting that machine up and running. Yeah, so that's about it.
I have one item for, oh,
When do you anticipate the opening of the recycling center?
That's all hinged on when we order the baler and it is shipped and installed.
Prior to winter.
With any luck prior to winter, that's correct.
Oh,
So the machine the baler that we are purchasing is going to be 3-phase. So it's something that the electric company is going to have to install.
Mm.
It's contingent on obviously getting the baler here, working with the electric company to get it installed and stuff like that.
segues nicely into my next question, the baler.
Mhm.
Is it multi-use or is this specifically set up for cardboard?
It's multi-use. It'll be used for cardboard, plastics, aluminum. We will be able to handle all of the recycling materials that we need to compact into bales.
Outstanding. And my last question concerns the curbing on West Main Street.
Mhm.
Pieces are in, few pieces are scattered here and there, and I was just wondering what that
Status
looks
on
like.
that project. That is contingent on the multi-one being back up and running.
Hmm.
We refrain from using the loader in that position because it would block too much of the roadway. The excavator obviously can't be tied up on the edge of the road like that to do a project like that. So I have been holding off on that project until the multi-one is back up and running, which will expedite things.
Questions? Thank you.
Like I said, that is a handy machine.
Yep, go ahead.
One quick one. Is there a warranty on the work from New Hampshire Hydraulics?
Yes.
I have one item. It was going to go under my report, but now that Kevin is here, he can help also with the answer. There was an issue with the Sano parking, 2 vehicles parking where the little grassy area where the teller used to be. And it was important that fire could get in and out safely, so the fire department asked the police to go over and ask them to remove Sano's area. They own it, but in order for them to permanently park there, they need to get a driveway permit if they wanted to do that, and they would never be able to get one. However, we resolved that little bit, and they won't have their tenants park there. But they were wondering if we would be going to put up the sawhorses to protect the plows from going in again this year, to protect that area where the bricks are.
Yes, I plan on doing that until I'm told not to.
Okay. The other thing, Board, is that they have sealed off of the parking area where they own, with the exception of the 2 handicap parking spaces, which they've given to the town. And they said that we're free to use at any time whatsoever. We can paint them blue like a handicap should be. So you want Kevin to go ahead and paint that, now's the time to tell him. I don't know if your painting is done for the year or not. Go ahead.
Do we own those 2 spaces, or those 2 spaces are just
If you'd like,
something he's allowing us to use? Because what we're
free to,
talking about is painting a private parking lot. I know there's an upside for us, probably,
yeah.
but sounds like mostly it's an upside for him. Quite frankly, because how many handicapped people are going to park back there?
Handicapped people that go to T-Hop.
Don't they have handicapped spaces?
One spot in the parking lot. And there's one spot outside of the old Providian. But I've seen people go in there and park there. So, I mean, it's up to the board. It doesn't, whether we use them or we don't use them, but they are available. He has not fenced that off at all. They are free to us to use. Get it in writing if you'd like.
What does it cost to paint those two spaces blue in time and material? $100? I mean, you don't have to have it to the nickel.
A couple hours of time. Bucket of paint is roughly $150. So half a bucket, so 75. Couple $100.
Do you have plans to do any line painting this fall?
No, that's usually done in our spring.
Do it in the
In the
spring.
spring, yeah.
Go in next spring and do it.
Just do
Yep.
it when we do it next spring.
Right,
A lot going on with the
And you're
sidewalk
not gonna,
projects. and
once
stuff
it
like that.
starts snowing,
right,
Won't see.
lines have a tendency to disappear.
exactly.
Yeah,
Are
let's
those
plow over the
handicap
current spots. right now.
spots marked correctly with the signs,
Mhm.
certain height
We-
above the?
We marked them and he's left the signs there for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are properly. Okay. I have one question. McFarland, when the engineer was going over Caleb Hill Road, did they seek you out? Did you have a lot of interaction with them when they were engineering?
No.
Caleb Hill Road.
They did not seek me out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? That's it? Thanks, Kev.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks to the senior center
Oh.
floor.
Oh, the
Inch and a
senior
half.
center?
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, I should mention, we will need to purchase a few more floor jacks and get, because
A
what we've
few more, I
noted,
didn't hear that.
a few more floor jacks.
Okay,
Because what has happened is there are some floor joists that have not come up with the rest of the floor, and it's created one of
oh,
these.
okay.
So we need to get under there, and it'll be done in the near future, obviously, but yeah, we're working on it.
They can
Thank you.
also pay attention to the insulation and, maybe some pics. I know
Yeah.
it was had fallen down
Yep.
before.
They had noticed that some of the blocking that was put in place prior to us working on it was up against a gas line, so they had some forward thinking of removing the section of blocking so that when they lifted the floor, that it didn't bend or crack the gas line. So I have a really good group of guys that are paying attention to
Yeah.
things. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Kevin.
Okay, next on the agenda is the McFarland Johnson proposal for Caleb Hill. Selectmen need to decide if they will sign the proposal.
Colin Johnson
Talk into
proposal.
the mic, please. I can't hear you, John.
Yeah, if I could make some comments on that. I wasn't here for the first round of comments on it. I did watch the presentation and that on it. One of my concerns was that they presented as they were going to use existing maps, water flow, and that's already existing on the property. The ages of those maps are kind of unknown. And as we all know, in the past few years, even more so, but even over the past 10 years, we've had quite a few 100-year storms. The land around there, due to just, the development of it, logging, and that has increased the runoff on it. And I think a complete survey of the water and drainage in there is necessary, and any other brooks or that run near there, just to protect our interests, because we don't want to buy a road that's on a peat bog or going to fail in a very short time.
Thank you, John. Anyone else? Go ahead, Joe.
I don't like being the project sponsor. Seems like that's going to be a lot of responsibility and it's going to cost us money. And I would love to get that road fixed, but the state wants to dump this on us. That's my estimation of it. And I think being the project sponsor is going to be a pain. How much will that cost us, Tim? Do you have any idea?
We are the project sponsor.
$3.250 million.
Well, we don't know.
That's how much the project costs.
That-
Being the project
No,
it's not.
sponsor,
That's not how much it costs.
That's how
I
much
mean,
money we have
that's
from
how
the
much is
state.
allocated,
Right.
yeah.
of which
no, I get
100,000
that, I
is the
get that.
engineering. Yeah, it could be 5 million for all we know.
That's the project. But the project sponsor has to respond to a lot of stuff and has to do a lot of stuff. It's not that we haven't decided who's going to be in charge of this, because this is a big thing and this is going to take a lot of time. And is Kevin Duval going to spend months up there walking up and down the road? How much does that put on Tim and Jeannie and the selectman's assistant? A lot of paperwork and whatever it seems like he's going to have to file. And then the free road, which of course we have to maintain in perpetuity after that, isn't free at all. It's going to cost us tens of thousands of dollars. There's no doubt in my mind.
Easy.
Not 70 or 80,000, but it's going to cost a lot of money. Take a lot of time away from town employees.
I think we'd end up having to actually hire somebody with roadway construction knowledge
A
because.
clerk of the works, so to speak.
That's right, because they're gonna have to oversee a construction project,
Yeah.
road construction
There's
project.
going to have to be somebody there.
I'm a little, wasn't real happy when I've gone through this engineering report as many times as I have, but to hear that they haven't even spoken with the one person in town that probably knows the road the best is our public works director. That is unbelievable. What a resource they have, and they haven't used it.
Sounds like we've made a decision here.
I'm a big no.
A no for
I don't know
John,
if you want to make
okay.
a motion for it or if you. wait for
Joe?
Consensus.
There's too many questions unanswered for me to sign at this time.
I'm a no. So it looks like consensus says we're all a no. Put that aside. Okay, we have,
We can revisit this, can we not?
No, this one had to be committed to by tomorrow.
tomorrow, you're right.
So the gasset for next week is,
It's
No, the
tonight.
gas, it's tonight.
That's tonight. Good time
the
to,
gasset, maybe we should have listened to them talk about it.
and
And
perhaps we
reconvene.
should ask them some questions.
And then reconvene?
Like I say, I'm not a flat out no. I'm a too many questions
Mm,
to vote yes right now. So maybe we can revisit this if applicable.
Anyone else for that idea?
Yeah, I don't want to completely close the door on it, but I'm like, Joe, I don't want to
If you,
take ownership of a road that's going to cost us.
well, if we say no now and we adjourn, if we adjourn the meeting, then we have to reopen another meeting after they leave. So,
Well, I
And
don't
it-
mean today.
well, tomorrow's the
To
deadline.
be signed
McFarland and Johnson, yes.
your basic last second.
Oh,
Catherine.
you mean another engineer and another
Or
next
another
year?
look at it,
Okay, got it,
or,
got it.
Another
you know,
proposal.
yeah,
Another
the state may
proposal.
come back and say, well, what
Got
if
it.
we do this?
Will not agree
Okay.
with this proposal.
Okay, all right, moving on. I get it. Clean Harbors Environmental Services, this is a bill for Salmon Run, an estimate for Salmon Run, I should say. And this is out of pocket for us, and then we have to go after the person. It's out of pocket for us, and then we go after the person that caused the
Is he
damage.
out of the joint yet?
I have no idea. But it's $4,430.40.
Is this
This is
person
the cleanup
insured?
from the auto accident.
Oh, this is just the auto accident.
Yeah.
Yes. I cannot answer the question if he's insured or not. Well, let me see if I can. Hold on a minute with this paperwork.
With some talk about fencing, replacing the fencing, estimates for the fencing. Wouldn't his insurance have been contacted or what have you at that point? Or no? I don't know.
Our insurance will not cover it. I know that. We have to pay out of pocket and then go after them. It's not a covered item for our insurance.
To me, it was curious. We've had accidents that have damaged town property and they were insured and didn't work out, so I was just curious.
Well, in any event, I feel, my own personal feeling is we have to clean it up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the cleanup.
So I think we need to move forward and get this done.
I think the cleanup is a necessity. I think
Yep.
fencing, not to say fencing is not important, but fencing is a secondary piece
Right.
to the cleanup.
So as I'm reading this, this is a real guesstimate, not an estimate, a guesstimate. It is estimated 3 drums of materials. Actual number of drums disposed of will be invoiced accordingly. Quotas based if weekend or holiday hours are requested. They don't really know what's there.
I have to imagine that they have some experience in
Right.
how far did it go down in the soil and stuff is probably difficult to tell without testing and or digging it up.
It's been quoted sight unseen.
Are you sure?
That's what it says on page 3. For the purpose of this quote, job has been quoted sight unseen. If anything falls outside of the normal scope of work discussed, mutually agreed upon change order will be issued before work resumes. This is a total guesstimate. I presume it was difficult because we only have one estimate to find people to bid on this.
It is non-hazardous material. Classification for outputs from automobiles. And not considered.
Are we absolutely certain of that?
It says all through this non-hazardous semi-solids.
You know, it's very typical, and asked the fire department about, and they said that.
Well, what do we want to do? Okay. Make a motion, we clean it up. Clean harbors.
Second.
Who's going to supervise them?
Conservation Commission?
It might have to be twofold from just when I'm looking at it. I think maybe Conservation Commission. I do think DPW or one of the DPW director or one of his employees who can go and look at the reseeding and just be able to know what they're reseeding with too. Just a quick check with them on that.
I think
But doesn't it say we're responsible for reseeding?
No, I believe it said in
The
theirs.
customer will be responsible for replacing the
Oh,
yeah.
excavated soil
Yeah,
as well
you're
as
right.
the grass seed needed.
Yep, you're right.
Doesn't say they're not
can-
going to put it down, but
I can volunteer to supervise it. The town did pay for me 5 years, so large quantity hazardous waste coordinator for
Cool.
for DES.
Okay,
And
Thank
your
you.
conservation
Training-
committee.
we train
Thank you.
And trained every year, so.
there you go.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. That's
So
great.
be it.
All right.
And you can walk there.
Makes me
And
feel
I
a little
can
more
walk.
Quick,
comfortable.
nice walk there.
All right.
And, one of the things with this type of material, typically you could do it yourself in the way that you would take this materials up and you purchase 55-gallon drums and classify it with the proper classification. Typically the barrels run about $200 a piece. And for them to do a pickup, they do what they call milk runs. They go through the area once a month, and they can pick them up, but that would probably be about $600. It's pretty close to when you get down
Having them do
to
it.
that.
Okay, so you're going to supervise. Okie doke. All right, next subject. Selectmen's reports.
Did we?
Oh,
Vote.
We didn't vote. We
Oh,
didn't agree
thank
to.
you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There we go, we voted. Before we get into that, we need a confirmation on Halloween. I guess there was a conflict. Some say it was October 27th on a Friday evening, and some say it was the 28th on a Saturday. There is no Tanger, by the way, Friday night. That was confirmed. So do you want to keep it on the 27th on Friday evening? That's what we had discussed.
Works for me.
Well, the last couple we did it on Friday, but then there was a kind of discussion a couple weeks ago where we said we would have it on Saturday, the 28th. And I just want to make sure that we circle around and make sure that that's what we're going to have is on
I'm open
the
for,
27th.
Just throwing this out here. I've got 3 kids, and those kids all want to go to the Halloween festivities downtown because we've been in the past. A lot of fun. But it's Friday, and 3 kids, 2 of which are in school, so they can't get together until after school. All of a sudden, there's going to be an hour and a half, maybe, of daylight. And once the sun goes down from between those buildings on Main Street, it gets chilly, especially if there's a wind blowing through there. On Saturday, we could start earlier, have more of a participation perhaps from those families, from the businesses downtown. If we have it too late, I've been to a bunch of these things, and I was always cold by the end, and it was always dark, and everybody was looking to go home. If we started it at 3:30, maybe.
It doesn't matter which night it is for me. I'm going to
That's an
attend.
interesting point.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I could, yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Just-
I think also, Joe, one of the other things to consider is some of the bus routes we have don't finish till 4:45, sometimes 4:50 in the afternoon.
On
It's
top
true.
of that,
So
yeah.
I wouldn't, so I,
Right.
like,
That's a good
I'm
point.
with Pat, I'm with Pat too. Either day is going to
Yeah.
work for me because I get to walk down the
Yeah,
hill
I'm an
and
either
enjoy
way
the
kind of
time,
guy
so.
myself.
I like Joe's idea for Saturday.
I agree, with Joe. It's a very good point. The other part is that there's more traffic, commuter traffic, people in a rush to get home, trying to get through the center of town when we block
On
it off.
Friday night, 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
you bet.
And,
Great.
and
So do you want to do like a 3 to 7 or 3 to 7:30 on Saturday?
Work for me, and could we put that on the town website, Tim?
Social media,
Mhm.
all those
I
wonderful
wonder
places.
if Johanna would consider her zombie walk thing.
That
He
would be
did the zombie
interesting.
walk several years ago, and that was a lot of petite people participated in that.
Yeah, I'll have to ask that. Maybe the parks would get involved in it this year.
Who?
The Parks Commission. Okay, So then,
Saturday.
that's Saturday, the ribbon cutting celebration for the new recycling center at the transfer station is on Saturday, October 7th at 9:30 a.m. And then September is National Senior Center Month. We all saw hopefully, really nice photo and article September 13th month for the senior center. Okay. Now, Vicky Virgin annual drive, they collected 16 carts of food and $541 in cash. Vicky's
Wow.
spirit lives on.
Yay, Vicky.
Okay. All right. Scott, you're up.
Just a quick note from this past week. It was great. John and Joe and I were available to be able to attend the Red Vest Day that Kevin Duvall talked about. It was super. John did a wonderful opening speech, and it was great that we had folks from not only our local Lowe's, but we had a couple who came all the way up from Bedford to volunteer and paint. So a really nice event. Many thanks to Gail Bestick, who got Aroma Joe's to donate the coffee and all the snacks and everything else. So it was really good on a day that was shockingly during this summer rainy. So, but I know that's a change of pace, but very nice. Really excited. Kevin was able to sort of walk us through sort of, how the transfer station is gonna look and how the windows will be used and things like that. So an exciting addition down there, and many thanks to Lowe's and their hometown program for their very generous donation to be able to get this done. But really nice event. And that's it.
Okay. Joe, you're up.
I only have the one thing, and it kind of piggybacks off of Scott and the recycling center. Just planting a seed here, but I think it would be a fine thing to do to get Norm Boudreau's name in there somewhere. Plaque on the wall, something. Norm was a catalyst and an instigator of the whole recycling efforts here in the town of Tilton. He got me involved, he got Marge involved, he got everybody involved, and he started it. And I'm happy to report that I went and saw Norm on the day that he passed. And we had already voted to have the recycling and the pay as you throw, and it hasn't happened yet, Norm, but and he seemed real pleased in the midst of whatever else was going on. I'm just throwing that out there for future discussion, because I'll bring it up again in the future. So you could think about how you see that happening. Or not.
All right. That it? I think that's a great idea, by the way.
That's it.
Catherine?
Yeah, and the fact that we were so busy tonight, I'm going to wait until the next meeting, but I do want to continue the discussion on the clerk's wage.
Well, maybe we can get a ruling on that. Why don't you email NHMA or whatever? Get a,
I don't need to. The law is the
All right.
law. It's very
Well, then-
clear.
why don't you copy the law and bring it in next
Oh,
time?
that's a good point. I'll do that.
Okay,
If I may.
go ahead.
So I'm not suggesting that the law is incorrect or that you're incorrect about that. What we have, though, is we have the need to have proper internal controls so that one person isn't making changes to payroll without some other input, whether that be the town administrator signing off on something or some other means. But for proper internal controls, you shouldn't be having one person looking at the, what was approved at town meeting and just making changes without secondary approval. So that's my only point. So it's really, for me, it's an internal control practice and something that we require for our personnel files as well, so that we have a record.
So I understand the need for internal controls, and I wouldn't have a problem signing this right now, except for the fact the wage was not distributed as right after the town meeting vote. So basically, we're signing this and authorizing the distribution of that wage that was voted on by town meeting, which means that we are controlling those monies. The law is very clear. We don't control it.
We disperse it though. There has that in that
And as I said,
is a matter of control on some level.
I don't mind signing this just to have, as Tim said, that this is what happened to it. But it should have gone to her without the Board of Selectmen saying, yes, pay that money, because we don't have the authority to say yes or no. We can't change the amount. We can't reduce the amount. It's voted on by town meeting, period.
John?
So could we sign this as approved at town meeting and that we witnessed that this was approved? We're certifying that town meeting did approve it, and that we're not approving it, but make it clear on here that was as approved at town meeting.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's really a housekeeping issue
And then
for
that way
us,
you'd
and
have your
internal
form.
control. Yeah.
And it would also be a note, so if anybody saw it, they'd say, no, they didn't approve it, but they signed it as witnesses of it being approved at town meeting. In the,
Good point.
I like that, as approved at town meeting.
and then we're all set, I would think.
Yeah, you can write it in.
So is that okay if I just write as approved at town meeting on there?
Fine with that.
Everybody, you good with that? Tim?
Fine.
Just
Yep.
okay.
That's fine.
Thank you, Solomon.
Everybody happy with that? Good.
Ecstatic.
All right. Is that it?
Oh, I'm good with that. Yes.
All right, make sure that
It
gets
makes it
to be
legal,
signed in that other
And you know what
paper. Do you
legal
want to
is.
bring that up?
Yeah.
Lawyers get
Lawyers.
involved.
That goes into the to be signed folder.
Oh, this goes in here.
And
Bane
are
of my
you all set with
existence.
that?
Where's the application with this? But one was filled out. So the Park Commission, Paul Rushlow has offered to be a member of the Park Commission. And that application was submitted. Wow.
I signed it. I've seen it.
Have you seen it? I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
I signed it.
Paul Rushlow?
And I wondered about Paul being a member of that committee, but he's been working with that committee. He's a town guy. He's an experienced guy. I signed it. I know I did.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Maybe I signed it at town hall. I don't recall where I signed it, but I signed it.
Okay. I don't think it's come to the Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm curious. There's a letter of support here.
Yep.
But I haven't seen the
From the Parks
the
Commission.
application.
The same as it was in the email. Yeah.
All right, maybe we'll wait until the next meeting then. All right,
But before, yeah, that's before the next Park Commissioner meeting, so that'll work.
well, we're gonna have one anyway soon. All right, John?
So Scott, same thing. Ditto what Scott said. Great time there. Wonderful to see all the employees with their speckled faces there painting. Got it all done. And the whole public works the whole area is just spotless and organized when you go through there. It's just wonderful to see that. So they're working on Morrison Ave. Everybody's quite happy. They actually have water flowing at a great rate now. The other thing I want to bring up is that at our previous meeting last Thursday, we discussed some issues with a applicant that on Main Street and what they're using for. So there's still code violations there ongoing. How are we going to address that? Page 5 of the zoning regulations, so I did some research, defines a junkyard quite specifically as a business, this is quote, a business or place of storage or deposit, whether in connection with another business or not, which has stored or deposited 2 or more unregistered motor vehicles which are no longer intended or in condition for legal use on public highways. And it goes on a little more. And then on page 81, it says junkyards are not allowed anywhere in Tilton except for industrial zone. And that zone series, it appears to be, it's in a general commercial. So what we decided that they would only do auto work, auto repairs is not what's going on.
The letter of cease and desist just went out on September 14th.
Well,
So it's in process.
So for when,
Correct.
How long do they have on that? 30?
It doesn't say.
Comply?
I think they need to know because they express they're allowed to have 5 cars parked there that are unregistered, uninsured.
There's a law covering that, isn't there, John?
well, the Board of Selectmen said cease and desist, everything but auto repair. Regardless of what the planning board may have been involved in, we issued a cease and desist on everything except auto repair. So
We need to know
is the letter in here?
when is the
Yeah.
date on which we,
The letter is over there, the cease and desist.
There's no date on it. There's a date that it was sent out, but no date to
so
end.
when would they have to comply by?
And that's probably our fault because we didn't give a date of compliance.
Well, we can send them an addendum.
Or
Send the
send a
code
letter saying
enforcement.
that they're
Yeah,
not
no,
in
it'd have to be an
compliance
official letter.
with the auto repair codes presently, and that they have 30 days to be in compliance fully with the terms of the cease and desist.
I mean, yes,
How many days?
30.
That's a standard.
Do you want another letter sent out on top of this letter saying that you only have
The
30
only way
days
to
to?
get them the information and make it legal, I
Make it
would think.
that they have to comply to that within 30 days, because it doesn't say. Have, right? The cease and desist all activities.
Well, that means
So
right
when-
now, doesn't it?
That's what I would think. So then they're
Should
So
have
30
specific-
days
for the code
from
violation.
today to comply with the cease and desist order.
But should we be
Code
more
violation.
specific that they have to remove all unregistered vehicles? There was, I remember there was a picture of,
Doesn't it say that in the cease and desist? law?
no, it doesn't.
What
And
does
like
it
I said,
say?
that's on us because
That
we
one I
weren't
didn't see.
specific.
That was,
We were not specific. So here we are.
thank you, John.
I don't think I ever remember the Board of Selectmen issuing a cease and desist.
Okay, must remove all unregistered vehicles from the site. 30 days to comply with the cease and desist order and must remove all unregistered vehicles from the site. Okay?
I think it's complied to all zoning ordinances.
All applicable ordinances, zoning,
With the cease
planning.
and, with 30 days to comply with all zoning board,
Site plans, approved site plans.
So it would be.
So it does say.
they don't have approved site plans, that's
Then
why
they've got to get one.
that's why they're in the cease and desist.
It would
They've got to
be-
get one.
It would be all zoning regulations. might specifically want to,
Well, why don't we just say with the cease and desist order and must remove all unregistered vehicles from the site and comply with all zoning regulations.
I think I put applicable because some of them wouldn't apply.
Applicable, all applicable.
That sounds good.
because it does say deposit 2 or more on the zoning regulation, not all. It says
Should
2.
have just shut them down altogether and then we wouldn't be having this every week.
Well,
Since January, so.
I know, and we're going to continue it every week unless we completely, totally. Oh,
Haven't, but here we go.
I guess. Anything else, John?
No, well, not with that. The other thing is I think we need to disseminate some type of training and on processes and
We used to have Dan Crean come. Dan Crean came when I was on the planning board to explain planning board law and how it, we went about our business. There must be somebody. Dan Crean is not available any longer, but there must be somebody that can come in and have a little workshop. Probably costs an hour's worth of lawyer time, but it would be valuable, I think, to the members of the planning board who have not had the opportunity to be trained. They're learning on the job, and that's not a real good idea sometimes.
Why not just have Primex come in?
Good enough.
anyway, there's also some online that's put out by, I put out, it's officially by the state of New Hampshire and that on the procedures and that, I don't have it right here, of the zoning, and you actually take a test at the end, but it's a multiple choice. It gives you how you did on it, so you can go back and, see areas that you need to. And it was interesting. I went and I took it. There's 30 questions, and out of it, I got 4 wrong. So, and I look back, no kidding. So it's very helpful. And these are things that zoning, planning, or anybody else, we should have that and ask for members to do that so that they know which directions
And
to go.
a letter to these boards offering this training, suggesting this training, requiring this training, your choice, just so that they know it's there and
Well-
where it is. Give them the links to it. Talk with the chairman and get her to him, whoever it is, to schedule a
I
time.
think that we have to make a decision. Are you going to offer it, require it, or what are we going to do?
Can we
Suggest
require it?
it.
Well,
It,
we are actually the people in charge that we've given that authority, handed off that authority to planning board and the zoning all through the town meeting, and we approved.
the application for
But
those
the-
boards says about training on it. Would you be willing?
Right, but can the town require members of boards, and I'm thinking budget committee is another really important board, to have training? Can we require that as a condition?
Another
You
good
can't remove
question.
them.
Can you look it up?
I don't know if
I don't think you can.
I don't know as we ever have.
No,
Not for boards.
We've
no.
never
For
done that.
boards.
no, we've never
But I
done
don't
that.
think we can. I think we can offer it, but I don't think we can require it. They're
It
volunteers.
seems like they volunteers, but if they
we
don't
give
know
them a
what they're
stipend.
doing,
Oh.
You know,
you have to know what they're doing.
I agree
Just
with you.
because they volunteer is no reason to send them blindly into battle.
I couldn't agree with you more, Joe.
This isn't
That's
the
not
Army.
the question. The question is, could you actually mandate someone to take a course?
You could offer it
We
as
can-
part of a meeting.
Mhm.
We can request and supply all of the tools and information. And from there, it's,
I brought this up a couple of months ago to get them training, but could we mandate it is the
Yeah,
question.
it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different.
Different to mandate continuing
Right.
education as opposed to saying like, we'd like you to
There's all
participate.
kinds of training out there for planning and zoning and budget.
I think that all the people that are on these boards and committees have all the best intentions and everything. And if we provide them with the tools and, research.
Those that
and
don't
disseminate
have to
them.
be reappointed periodically.
Well, I think that as we've looked at and we know the way the town has unfolded in the last 30 years, I've been here 23, is just, I don't think it's going to stop in terms of businesses that come in, the change in use, the expansion of parking lots,
Right.
things like that. So, it might be wise sort of across the board, even maybe for us to get a little brush up on planning and zoning as well.
Well, I
Select
totally
boards,
agree with you
you know.
on that. Need to
Sometimes
be educated.
what we're
Yeah.
doing a lot is we're going by tribal knowledge and handing it down.
Point,
And
yeah.
to get back to the basics and, the structure of what it is, and that is really good because we're handing down information as providing it for.
I think one of the things we
Okay.
have to remember is laws change all the time.
Correct, yeah.
And I know as health officer, I'm constantly taking new training, constantly.
Yeah.
And as a budget committee member, I'm constantly reading the updates and whatnot. So when we say require
It might be,
members
but
of boards and committees to take training, it would also, not just new members, but current members would periodically have to.
I wonder if we could, is there ability for us to mandate or require that each board makes sure that their board email gets the updates that you're talking, like everyone gets the update on what's coming through on sort of budget, on the planning thing, at least it's getting delivered there. Whether it's being opened and read is a different story, but at least you have that ongoing supply of what the updates are in terms of changes of laws.
Oh, that's interesting.
All right.
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay. I have a couple of things. First, we need to schedule next week a meeting. We have an outstanding evaluation that we promised we would get it done. What night available?
Thursday.
Thursday? Work for you?
And it's only because between me being sick and me having Thursday meetings, there's an event that's been held up for 10 people that they keep scheduling it on Thursday because that's the only time everybody else could get there. And it's like, and then we have a meeting the following Thursday. And then there's going to be a reason to have a meeting the following Thursday. We're almost back on weekly here as of late, which is neither here nor there. But if you're asking me, I would rather do it a different night. I would certainly come and do it a different night. Even Friday.
I could probably do Tuesday.
Tuesday's planning board meeting.
Yeah, I have a meeting Monday night. I have budget Wednesday, and I'm trying to schedule a budget meeting for the fire district that meets on Friday.
So Wednesday night you have budget?
Yeah, so I would only be available Tuesday or Thursday.
What time is budget? 7?
7.
So
Pound
if
it out.
we,
What?
if we can meet at 4:30 on Wednesday.
I can't, I won't be back in town until 6:30. Unless you want me to, I can go mobile from Meriden, New Hampshire, but, no.
And Tuesday is,
Planning. 30 still? 6.
Or you can schedule it on the 28th and I'll just miss. I don't know how much I can contribute to that particular conversation, knowing what it's about.
I think, a lot. Well, then it brings us to the 29th, Friday.
I'm good with the 29th. The only reason I'm not good with Thursday is because that's when everybody else can do it.
Yep.
And trying to assemble, and you've got this, well, I've got 9 other people that got your kind of schedule. And now everybody's trying to get this together Thursday. We'll do it on Thursday. Well,
And
You available on Friday?
I can't do Friday.
I mean, it could be depending on time.
How about Sunday night?
I'm available.
You available?
Yeah.
You
I can do
available?
Sunday.
Sunday night?
I can do Sunday. Sure.
Sunday night.
Are you talking about this coming Sunday night?
Yep, the 24th.
God, don't let me forget.
What time?
The earlier the better for me. There's no sense
Oh,
in
yeah.
Sunday afternoon, late
Yeah.
afternoon.
the crack of 2. We'll be out before dark.
It doesn't matter. Time is for me, so it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't, I want to get it done. So
That everybody goes for.
I can do it whenever.
I could do it 5 in the morning. It doesn't matter to
Yeah,
me.
No, I'm
depending
good-
on the
I'm good
time,
with
I'm
that,
either going to
too.
come clean or garden dirty.
All right, what time on Sunday? How many for
4 o'clock's fine. If that's
4?
Sure.
Or morning, or either one.
I'm in for,
Whatever's good.
4 p.m.
I'm open for whatever.
4 p.m. on Sunday evening. Come prepared, please. Okay. All right, we're going to get that done. Okay, the second thing I have is, there is, I know this conversation has come up before. I'm bringing it up again, and this time we're going to have a decision, because I just know you're going to make a decision tonight. I just feel it in my bones. The generator, the old generator that, not the old generator, but the generator that was at the old PD is not being used. It's at the DPW, and we talked about it, putting it at the senior center so that we could have it opened up to being a shelter in place. It would need a slab, a small slab to be put on. And Kevin said that the DPW crew could do that, a small slab. I already talked to him. And then it's gas generated, so Chris could do the gas portion of it. And then I haven't talked to Tucker Norman, who has done all the electricity up there, but he could do that. But I did talk with our finance director and said that there would be monies available in this year's budget to get this done and in place. And then if power goes out, it comes on automatically, and seniors without heat or electricity can go up there, and we've now got it.
Anybody. can
Anybody,
go up.
you're right.
So it
Anybody.
wouldn't have to be
And it would be a
seniors.
shelter in place, and
I say yes.
Convenient for
Yes,
guys
I'm a
like
yes.
Yes,
me.
definitely.
Yes,
Yes,
resounding
absolutely.
yes.
Yes. get her done.
Look at you all making a decision so quickly.
Well,
It's something.
It's a
That's a
no-brainer.
good one. I would
Which
just
is
say,
why they could do it.
make sure he seals his concrete pad because it's going to be exposed to the
Just remember that. Yeah.
elements.
All right, so everybody's on board with me pushing forward with this, right?
I
Yes,
am.
with a
Seal the
sealed
concrete
concrete pad.
pad.
We table it?
Do
We
you want
could
me
do
to say
that later in
nasty?
the meeting, you know.
Do you want me to say nasty things online?
Motion to
Okay,
reconsider.
so I did already talk to you about Sano and the handicap,
Yes.
and he is not going to park the tenants there. So that did get resolved. I'll look over it. Sure. And we voted no on McFarland. There is the Breeze Line cable TV franchise agreement. Did you, everybody read it or look at it or whatever? Are we gonna,
This with Comcast, I mean, do we
well, they,
enter in a better agreement with Comcast at this point?
It doesn't cancel each other out. It just
No.
allows competition.
right, it's in competition with each other and Comcast
Yeah.
should be coming in soon.
Yeah, they've been putting cable in for a while.
Whatever we sign
Have they
with
been
these
around
guys,
Yeah.
Comcast has to match.
Right.
They have to match it.
Somehow
That's the
Breeze
law.
Line has got to be much more customer oriented. And I can say that because I'm not a customer of Breeze Line in any way.
But
Because
this has
they-
got nothing, that has nothing to do with customers. That
I know.
only has to do with the
The poles.
mechanics of the poles
Right.
and the delivery systems and stuff like that.
Correct.
However, we can say yay or nay to them traveling through town, can we not?
Yes, yes. Telecommunications Act of 1974 as amended, 1939 as amended. We can, we have to negotiate in good faith. To just haphazardly say no because they won't change their programming or their basic rates or anything like that is not allowed under the law.
Or their lousy service.
That's it. Hey, if they have lousy service, don't get it.
So I think we would need a motion to sign the cable TV franchise, and they only have one signature here. Town of Tilton by. Only one
Tim.
signature, unless we all went on the right-hand side and signed it.
Hold on.
We could
Tim,
do that.
You've went over this contract.
No, I haven't. I have not had time yet.
Okay, that makes
I
that
won't
interesting.
sign it unless he looks at it.
go. Well, we'll put that off for,
Whenever that comes up, that comes up. It won't change anybody's service in the short term. Lack thereof.
Bill will be paid or billed. Never fear.
never fear. All right. Any other business to come before us? Anybody from the public want to say anything online? Oh, is that Leanne online?
It is. Somebody named Leanne.
Aha. Okay, is there anybody online that would like to talk to the Board of Selectmen before we adjourn? Okay, anybody from the public sitting in front of us? No, huh? In that case, I think Joe has new business to take up with us.
I have a question before he
Oh.
does. Are we going to recess or adjourn?
I haven't said yet. You get to vote when the time comes.
No, I'm just asking.
Listen,
So-
if we recess, that means I have to stay around. If we adjourn, that means I don't have to stay around. I'm just kidding.
Quite frankly, I can see a reason to recess as opposed to adjourn, as much as I hate to say that. We took a vote earlier that we can come right out of recess and adjourn if that's okay, but we might want to look at this again.
So
We
we'll
might. There's no
re-
way of knowing. That way we don't have to
Okay.
come back in.
But we could look at it Sunday.
We can look at it Sunday. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Non-debatable. Aye.
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 Boy, that was-
Parliamentary procedure
That
is
was
a
quick.
lovely thing.
101.
I just-
This
Notice,
conference will now be recorded.
they didn't get to notice so much in Laconia, but that's good. Uh, my name's Executive Council Joe Kenny, and you're at a GASSET hearing, and you're probably wondering what GASSET stands for. Anybody know what that stands for? No, you don't. Okay. So it's the Governor's Advisory Commission on Intermodal Transportation. So there's 5 members of the Executive Council that are part of this GASSET committee, along with the Commissioner of Transportation, which is Bill Cass. And so the 10-year highway improvement plan process in New Hampshire originated in the 1980s. And Governor Sununu, the father, in 1986 said, we've got a bunch of executive councils. They're not doing enough. So we're going to give them this responsibility to go around the state and have public hearings about the 10-year highway improvement plan. And we've been doing it since 1986. So that's required under RSA 228:99. The 10-year highway plan was developed in collaboration with 9 regional planning commissions. And I believe the Lakes Region Planning Commission covers this area. And the purpose of the hearing is to discuss the 2025 to 2034 draft 10-year plan. This is one of 25 public hearings held statewide. So there's 234 communities in New Hampshire. So we're going to show up in an area near you. And so for me, this is my 4th hearing. I did one early in the day in Laconia, and 2 days ago in Berlin, and one in Conway. The hearing is an opportunity to obtain public comment on transportation issues, priorities, and needs in the state. Your comments will be taken under advisement in the updated GASSET version of the 10-year highway plan, which will be submitted to the governor for his review and recommendations, and then submitted to the New Hampshire legislature for their review and recommendations. At this point, I'd like the DOT staff just to stand up and introduce yourself.
Good evening, my name's David Rodriguez, and I'm Assistant Commissioner at the Department of Transportation.
Okay, at this point, we're going to get right into the briefing. And so Bill Ogdensberg, the Director of Project Development, will give us a presentation.
Thank you, Counselor. Good evening. My name is Bill Oldenburg, Director of Project Development for New Hampshire DOT, and it's my pleasure to present to you a draft of the 2025 to 2034 10-year plan. For further information, there are both QR codes and website links on the back of your agenda, and it'll take you to the 10-year plan documents that we'll be talking about today, as well as a survey. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So we're currently in the middle of the 10-year plan process, and this process started last year when the regional planning commissions throughout the state reviewed, ranked, and brought forward candidate projects to be added to the new 33 and 34 years being added into the 10-year plan. These candidate projects have been drafted, debated, and submitted or reviewed amongst the individual RPC communities and presented to the New Hampshire Department of Transportation for inclusion in the 10-year plan. So as the counselor said, we're currently in the Gasset review phase, where Gasset, represented tonight by Councilor Kenny, present to the public the draft 10-year plan. That's what we're here tonight. The inputs gathered at meetings like this, and the 10-year plan is amended by Gasset as necessary based upon the public input we receive. At the end of the Gasset phase, the statewide 10-year plan is submitted to the governor for review and submission to the legislature for their consideration and approval. Public hearings are held and inputs considered. The process is complete, hopefully in June of 2024, when the 10-year plan is signed into law by the governor. Presentation tonight, in brief, will consist of a high-level overview of the funding within the 10-year plan. We'll talk about the strategies and challenges required to meet a financially constrained 10-year plan, review a funding synopsis of the plan, get an overview of the key infrastructure conditions. We'll discuss the RPC priorities, projects that were proposed for inclusion in the 10-year plan. We'll explain the information that's within the plan and give you a 10-year plan 101 type of review of how to interpret the information that's in the plan. Finally, we'll discuss the 10-year plan public input survey, how to find it and how to take it. So funding, from a funding standpoint, we receive funds from several federal agencies and programs. The Federal Highway Administration funds road, bridges, active transportation infrastructure systems. The federal highway funding represents the majority of funding within the 10-year plan. About 57% of the entire plan is funded with federal highway funds. But we also have federal transit funds for public transit systems, federal aviation funds for airports, projects and programs, and federal railroad funds for railroad infrastructure projects. The IIJA, or the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, was approved in 2022 and ends or expires in 2026 unless it's renewed. When the IIJA came about, there's new programs and discretionary grants that are within that program. There's also new bridge programs that can be used to strengthen our state bridge strategies, as well as new programs that allow the use of federal funds on municipal bridges that are off the federal system. And that's pretty key. We've never been able to do that before, using federal funds on bridges that aren't federally eligible. On the state funding side, things aren't so bright, or aren't as bright. State funding relies heavily on the road toll revenue or the gas tax. Travel is just rebounding to pre-pandemic patterns, but we're still down about 4% over predictions that were in the last 10-year plan. So what that relates to is a travel reduction with lower than anticipated toll revenue for the turnpike system, and also a reduction in revenue for the state betterment spending on roads and bridges, as well as a reduction in SB 367 revenue for state paving and bridge projects. In order to take advantage of the increased federal funds and meet the challenges of the decrease in state funding, we've developed a few strategies. The IIJA provides federal formula funds of about $234 million per year for the remaining years of the 10-year plan. So that's up to 26. What we've done is we've assumed level funding of that $234 million per year for the remaining years of the 10-year plan. So for 27 to 34. Historically, we haven't received a drop in a decrease in funding, but we also can't guarantee that we're going to get more money. So we've just assumed the level funding at the current levels. We've maintained and extended all the existing programs that are in the 10-year plan out into the 2 new years of the 10-year plan in 33 and 34 at the same funding level that they're in the plan currently. We're investing in maintenance and preservation of the existing system, keeping the good roads good and improving those where we can and removing bridges from the red list. We've also dedicated $69 million to the new RPC priority projects entering the 10-year plan in fiscal year 33 and 34. So due to the predicted toll revenue decrease, we have had to show a delay in certain capital turnpike projects. So I know that the turnpikes are pretty far from here, but you travel that, if you travel to the south, you go through them, people coming up to visit, travel through the turnpike. So in brief, the Nashua Merrimack Bedford project on the F.E. Everett Turnpike, which is currently under construction, has 2 more projects to advertise, probably won't be complete due to a delay of about 3 years. Manchester, the exit 6 and 7 projects will have a delayed start from 27 to 32, and the Bow Concord project will have a delayed start from 26 to 29. And it also includes the non-turnpike portion. So that project runs all the way through Concord. Well, the turnpike ends at exit 14 in Concord. So some of the project is turnpike funded. Most of the project is federally funded. So about $150 million is turnpike funded. The I-89 work, all the interchanges, 393 and north of exit 14 is about $350 million, and that's federally funded. That will also show a delayed start. So I apologize for the slide, but in general, this represents the funding within the 10-year plan. Tables like this and charts and graphs are all included in the 10-year plan. Please, if you want to fall asleep at night, go read it. It tells what buckets money comes in, what buckets we're spending the funds in, how the funding's allocated, and it mixes and grinds all that information in. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask, and we can hopefully get you the right answers. But in general, what the summary is the plan consists of about $4.9 billion over the 10 years, represents a $227 million increase over the last 10-year plan, or almost 5% increase. The road and bridge mode, which represents the big red box, consists of federal highway funds, betterment funds, SB 367, and turnpike funds. That represents the majority of the funds, about $4.1 billion, or 84% of the plan. The transit, rail, and airports, or these other modes in that box, represent a funding of about $760 million, or about 16% of the plan. The federal highway portion is the largest source of funding. Like I said, the 10-year plan represents about 82% of the highway funds portion, or 57% of the total 10-year plan funding. And I'll just add a reminder that the use of federal funds is prohibited on operations and maintenance, so we can't use federal funds to plow the roads and things like that. So one of the other components that I'd have to mention is the conversion of the SB 367 paving and bridge funding to debt service payments starting in fiscal year 26. So what does all that mean? So little history of time. So to accelerate the construction of the I-93 Salem to Manchester project, the department took out a TIFIA loan to pay for that construction. It allows us to accelerate the work, get it done, instead of just using federal funds to do that. To repay the TIFIA loan, the legislature passed SB 367, which dedicated a 4.2 cent per gallon gas tax increase to pay back the loan. And the way the loan repayment was structured, we were able to use SB 367 revenue for paving and bridge projects totaling about $20 million a year until the debt needed to be paid. Well, the debt payments begin in 2026. So that TIFIA pledged paving and bridge funding is being reduced to zero after 26. So there's $20 million of paving and bridge work that is being reduced. I mention that because the reduction in SB 367 paving projects directly affects our ability to pave roads and the conditions of the roads. So in the previous 10-year plan, we invested about $88 million per year in paving on our projects. And currently the plan, we're investing about $75 million, mainly due to that decrease in SB 367 funding. If all things remain the same, with no additional funding, the number of roads paved will decrease from about 400 miles per year to a little over 200 miles per year. That's represented in the top chart by the thick blue line. And that will also show a decrease in the good, fair conditions of our roads, represented by the thick blue line at the bottom graph. Our intent is not to allow this to happen. So for comparison purposes, we did a scenario analysis of judging funding versus pavement condition, call it a gap analysis, whatever you will. But we looked at, if we added, represented by the orange line, if we added $8 million a year, what would that do to our ability to pave more roads? And what would it do to the condition of the roads? And you can see that by the orange line. And we added another additional $11 million, and that's represented by the light blue line on top. And that gets us about to where we are today with the numbers of miles paved and the condition of the road. So if we put $19 million back, it would just about make up for the $20 million loss. But it's still, if we add less than that, we're not going to be able to pave the roads and keep the roads in good and fair condition. So we currently don't have a solution for it, but our goal is to pave as many miles as we can and keep the roads in the good and fair condition. So that's probably our biggest challenge in this 10-year plan, is what to do with the reduction in the SB 367 paving. The red listed bridge side, we're much better off. The top graph represents the state red listed bridges. We've been able to add through the IIJA funding an investment of about $156 million over the plan. So we're predicting that we'll be able to maintain the current red list at about the same number over the 10-year plan. So as a bridge comes on, we're able to take a different one off. So that thick blue line at the top represents basically the trend line, pretty level. So we'll have the same amount of bridges on the system at the beginning of the plan as the end of the plan. So on the municipal side, which is the bottom graph, we're much better off. So we were able to use that new federal funding I spoke about to aid communities with their red listed bridges. There are currently about 214 municipal red listed bridges. There's 43 bridges enrolled already in a DOT rehab or replacement program that will take them off the red list. But we've been able to, with this IIJA funding, add about 55 more municipal bridges into the program so that they can come off the red list. This will allow us to aid those communities, reduce the number of municipal red lists to about 119 by the end of the 10-year plan. So almost a 50% reduction in municipal red list bridges. On the active transportation side, besides roads and bridges, we continue to invest in active transportation on our projects. We average about an investment of about $30 million per year on active transportation aspects of our projects. We also have mandated federal programs like the Transportation Alternative Program, the Recreational Trails and CMAQ program that involve active transportation as a key component. The 10-year plan cycle, this 10-year plan cycle corresponds to the CMAQ application round, and the department received about 43 applications for the $44 million in available funds. 19 of those projects were electric vehicle applications, and we're currently reviewing those separately under separate funding because they could potentially apply for NEVI funds or carbon funds, so we wouldn't have to use CMAQ funds. We could fund them a different way. The remaining 24 projects represented about $40 million of requested funding out of the $44 million. So all the 24 non-EV CMAQ projects are being considered for inclusion in the 10-year plan. On the public transit side, we continue to invest in public transit to the amount of about $40 million per year. Some of the highlights include funding 9 mobility managers starting in fiscal year 22. And in 24 and 25 biennium, the legislature increased state funding by $2.3 million to help offset the state match needed to cover an increase in federal funds. So we receive federal funds, more federal funds for transit, but the problem is it requires a state match of those funds. So the legislature was kind enough to increase the state funding for transit to cover that match. Ridership still continues to rebound, but slower after the pandemic. Some of the challenges that we have, limited coverage areas, limited service frequency, and the lack of service interconnection throughout the state. And we also see an increase in need for transit due to the aging population of New Hampshire. The transit providers are also struggling to find drivers, especially those with CDL licenses, and are having trouble obtaining their match to many of the programs that that they're trying to get in, and do. So those are some of the struggles with that. So this list represents the regional planning priorities that have been added to the 10-year plan at the request of the RPCs and their communities. The Lakes Region Planning Commission added the Meredith 43533 intersection improvement project on Route 25 at Lake Street, True Road, Quarry Road, and Patricia Shores Circle. And also the Laconia 44217 Union Ave project from Main Street to Guilford Avenue, which is about 3,000 feet of bike ped and ADA components. So with that, what I'd like to do is introduce Sean Chamberlain, Transportation Planner at Lakes Region Planning, who is going to struggle to get out of the crowd, grab the clicker, and give a brief overview of projects added to the 10-year plan and some of the other regional needs. Thanks, Sean. Um, What I'd like to do now is to explain the contents that are in the 10-year plan, the documents, what you'll see inside, and how to interpret the information. So the first few pages will contain the graphs and charts like I used tonight, sort of slices and dices the buckets of funding that we receive, the allocations that we use the funding under, and it's in multiple ways. So like I said, if you want to sleep good at night, start reading this and it'll put you to sleep really fast. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact us and we'll try to help explain where the money comes from and where we're spending it. So the other thing is most of the book contains project sheets like this, which have the project information. And what I'd like to do is just take a brief second to go over what you see on the sheets and what it is. So by the numbers there, number one is the town name and project number associated with the project. So this is sort of the key information. If you have any questions, that's really what we need to know is the town it's in. So if it's Tilton, and then the project number, and then we find everything from there. So that's the key information we'd need if you had any questions. So number two is the road the project is on. Three gives a general description of the intended scope of work. Number four is the category of project, whether it's a standalone project, a programmatic, a mandatory project. Number 5 is what tier the road is on. And number 6 represents when the design will start. So that's shown as preliminary engineering, what year it starts, how it's funded, as well as the right-of-way, and when construction will begin, how much the construction is estimated for. And number 7 represents the program that the project's funded under. Number 8 represents the total cost of the project. And number 9 has any comments pertaining to when or how the project entered the program. So in this case, it came through Stratford Regional Planning Commission through the last 10-year plan round. That's where that project came from. And number 10 represents if there's a previous funding to the project in a previous 10-year plan, the current 10-year plan funding, and if any funding is needed outside the 10-year plan to complete the project. So you might see this if a project was say designed in 23 or 24, construction in 25, you won't see the design work in this 10-year plan. You only see the construction because that's the only years that are in the 10-year plan. But you would see under previous funding all the design dollars associated with it that was in the current 10-year plan. The future funding is if a project goes beyond outside the 10-year plan to fund it, you would see that. So the total for project includes previous funded 10-year plan, the current fund, and then any additional funds needed outside the 10-year plan. So some of the projects sort of highlight the region and projects in this area might be interested in or concerned about. The first one I'd mention is a corridor study project. A lot of communities were interested in this. This was entered in the last 10-year plan. And basically, we've been working with a consultant to develop a model and a prioritization process to systematically review corridors throughout the state. So we're going to review large sections of roads. So we could review, Route 3 or 140. And the idea is to look at those corridors to figure out where the hot spots are, where the issues are, and then be able to, in future years, bring those projects forward. So the idea is to develop individual corridor studies that, review them with department, gas it, prioritize those, and then be able to take action in the future. Any individual corridor studies that are already in a 10-year plan aren't superseded by this. They'll still continue as scheduled. Some other projects that are in the area, Tilton 29753 is the Califf Hill Road project from Clark Road to Sanfordton Road. Studies just getting started. Plan construction is scheduled for 2025. The Tilton 42600 project is intersection and safety improvements at School and Main Street. That is design is supposed to start next year with construction in 2029. Laconia Elm Street project is construction about 4,000 feet of sidewalk and multi-use path. And we also have a Belmont intersection safety improvement project at Main Street and 140 that is still in the plan. And we have a plethora of regional, state, and municipal red listed bridges that are currently in the program. So final slide, I swear, I'll stop talking. If you would like to take our survey, it's an online survey, gives you the opportunity to offer input, how we're doing, what direction we should take in the future, and what infrastructure needs you think we should be focusing on. Like I said, there's a QR code on the back of the agenda. Point your camera at it, we'll bring it right up, or there's a web link. You can also go to our DOT website, nhdot.com, find the 10-year plan, take the survey. We gather all that information from throughout the state, and we use that to focus what we need to work on in the future. So please do that. That is the end of my presentation. So I will turn the meeting back over to Councillor Kenny.
Thank you, Bill. First, before I go on to the next step here, I just wanted to thank the Tilton Academy students who volunteered their time yesterday to go over to the groundbreaking for the Franklin Veteran Campus, and they helped guide the traffic in and to help people park their cars. So students did a really good job from Tilton. They were well represented. So I just wanted to compliment the students. Next up, we have the public hearing is now open for comments. And now I'd like to hear from anyone that would like to speak. And so there's going to be a mic over there that our gracious DOT staffer is going to bring around to the first speaker. And at which point we'd like to hear from everyone. And if you haven't, filled in a blue card, just raise your hand and fill it out later. But I noticed something very historic, for a Gasset meeting, is that we have 5 selectmen that have signed up to speak. So, so who is the chairman of the board? Pat, you're up first. And we're going to bring this mic over here.
Nobody can hear my Italian voice. So let's talk about the, I don't know the numbers next to it, but let's talk about the roundabout in Tilton, Main Street, School Street. How did that go? 29753. Oh, you gave me wrong information. Former selectman. 42600. How did that come about? Because years ago, when the DOT came to the Board of Selectmen, or maybe, what, Catherine, 4, 5, 6 years ago, they came and we emphatically shot that down and said, no way do we want a roundabout to take our 2 statues down and put a roundabout there, because tractor trailers would never be able to make that turn and go up to School Street, and neither would school buses make that turn and go up to School Street. As a matter of fact, at the time, Commissioner Victoria Sheehan was there, and we measured out from exactly the point that she wanted to how many feet out it would come, and she stood right there, and a tractor trailer came around the corner and could not make that turn until she moved away. And it was a perfect example at the time, and I swear to God I didn't set it up. So now it's on the 10-year plan. How do we get it off the 10-year plan? Because we still have the same board members, with the exception of one, that have been on that board that emphatically said no 6 years ago, because it would be a hindrance to our traffic downtown Main Street.
Assistant Commissioner, would you like to take that long question?
Take it on.
I want to make sure that we respond, but to give you the most accurate information, I'm going to ask Bill to provide us the history
buck.
of the project first and why it's in there like that. To cut to the chase, I think it's much more of an intersection improvement project. I can assure you the DOT is not going to come to Tilton and say, you need a roundabout here, but Bill, please go ahead.
I would hope not.
It came into the 10-year plan through Lakes Region Planning in the 21 to 30 10-year plan round. So it came through this same process then, but that doesn't mean it has to stay. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a roundabout. We've heard numerous times about the intersection safety issues and things like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a roundabout for sure. But if you want us to kill the project, we can take the project out, definitely. But so.
Okay, and that's duly noted. So are you all done, Pat? All done? Okay. So our next speaker would be, for now, okay. Next speaker would be, well, I've got 4 more selectmen. So the next is Catherine Dawson.
I'm going to defer to Scott because Pat very eloquently asked my question.
Okay, great. Okay, Scott Ruggles.
Hi, Scott Ruggles, Selectman Tilton. What are the parameters that are the numbers to make it a safety concern?
I mean, if you, number of crashes.
Which is what? Do you
Crash
have a
rate?
bottom line number on it?
No. So we have heard that it was a safety issue, that what we would do is we would review the crashes. And so we have a number of different programs. You know, a 10-year plan project doesn't have to have a certain crash number to have a project. But if we are looking as a safety improvement, so like a highway safety improvement program, there's a crash statistic that we would want to see. But
Sure.
no. So unfortunately, this is actual crashes that have to occur, and you know, it's based upon number of property damage accidents, or you know, injuries, or God forbid, you know, fatalities. So that's sort of how they're reviewed.
And
But
so I've lived on School Street for 23 years. I use that intersection regularly, including today, coming through it with my motorcycle. The statistics from our police department over the last 45 months, there have only been 11 accidents there. So it's, you know, I think if we compared to a lot of other places, the other thing that Pat mentioned becomes the concern with commercial traffic and how commercial traffic would track through there. If there would be any resistance for the 18 wheelers that obviously travel Route 3 in an extensive way, because we have 17,000, on average, 17,000 vehicles on that street daily. That you're going to have 18 wheelers who are going to now, and I've done it multiple times coming from West Main Street through town, where they come through and then they pick up I-93 South. That's going to cause them to make the right-hand turn from Main Street onto Park Street, which, if anyone has ever been in that left-hand lane, is nearly impossible without having the left-hand lane traffic literally having to back up so the 18-wheelers can make that turn. So there's a significant number of concerns, and trust me, I've walked across the street near that intersection with my young children many, many years ago. We know there's issues there. My strong suggestion would be looking at far more clear signage in terms of turning and how people should be turning. You know, that's going to clarify for some. We know in the era of distracted driving, it may not clarify for all, but making it a little more clear, excuse me, especially for folks out of state who are experiencing that intersection for the first time, it would definitely help with that. But as for safety concerns, I think it's a moot point.
thank you. And just to be clear, if we talk about the project that you used to have, so we wouldn't put in a roundabout just to put in a roundabout if it didn't work for the truck turns. And we would design them all for a tractor trailer, a standard 53-foot box on a tractor trailer. If you couldn't get it to work, we wouldn't put it in. I mean, we just for clarification, our goal is not to put in or shove a roundabout where they don't work. So we would design it correctly for all vehicles to make it work.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Our next speaker would be Jonathan Scanlon.
Coming to you.
Hey, thanks for coming out to see us for this hearing, and that it's really helpful to have you out in the community with this. One of the things is, I think maybe Joey remember, a lot of times this area is referred to as the DNZ. You might recall that, the do nothing zone. One of the problems that we have on 3 and 11 that has been brought to the DOT attention for quite a while is the section of road along where the Tilton School wall is as you approach the center, the railroad tracks and Cumberland Farms. For many years, the trees grew out through the granite blocks, and the DOT just kind of cut the tops off, which just kept growing inside and has caused washout. Presently, 30% or more of all the posts that hold the guardrail in there are broken off or rotted out. The drainage for that section there, instead of going through a drainage system, is now running behind the wall, and the wall's collapsing. And one of the things that Tilton's trying to do is work on our historical appearance and just economic development. And that includes a nice looking downtown, as well as As you see, Franklin is now doing the water park with the kayaking and all that. So we've got a road that there's no other way to get to Tilton if that falls in, and it's falling in now, and we're not getting anything done on it. There's been talk of just fill it in with riprap, which would cause the river to be deflected and wipe out our island that we're trying to save. And yeah, thanks for getting on the island for us. It was a big project. So that's what I would like to see money diverted to. And I know you have red listed bridges and all that, but we have a red listed section of road. It's not a bridge, but once that, and it's starting to, caves in, we're done. We're done with that whole section. That's a major route. And I would ask if maybe folks could come out and take a look at it with me sometime. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Yes. So thank you very much for that comment. Nancy Spalding is here with us tonight. She's currently the District 3 engineer for DOT. Her and her staff have been looking at that wall. As you said, you've heard of some alternatives, some that include putting riprap in it to support it. We understand that there's concerns from the Conservation Commission. You've expressed some concerns tonight. We hear those. We will not do anything there before we talk to you further. The solutions there are not simple. That's why it's the do nothing zone, right? Because it's a significant project to fix in the river with the dynamics of the island. And I think there's a railroad bridge close by further downstream. So we hear you. We know that's a problem. We are looking at it, and we will be out to talk with both the town and the Conservation Commission as we come up with alternatives for that area. So thank you for your comments.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jonathan. Joe Jessman.
Mr. Kenny, gentlemen, I want to talk about Caleb Hill Road. Caleb Hill Road is a state road that has been poorly maintained over the years. We have boulders coming up in the middle of it. The drainage hasn't been addressed. There's ledge. We have one section of the road that's built through a bog. And thank you very much for looking out for us. They tell us that we can get $3.25 million or whatever for the road. And they paid for engineering. The engineering study I haven't actually seen, but I did see earlier this evening an agreement with the state that says, here's your $3.25 million. And you can either progress or not. The town has to do all the work. It's going to cost us tens of thousands of dollars to correct these problems from a road that has not been properly maintained. It never has been. Now, going further than that, I would say that we rejected that proposal earlier this evening. And I don't think, Guilford Main Street in Laconia to Guilford Avenue, they want $3.2 million. Now, I know that's not a great road, but you're offering us the same amount of money for well over a mile of road that's built over the top of ledges and bogs. I do not believe, and I know that there's several other people here who don't believe that $3.2 million is going to come close to doing it. And I, for one, wouldn't sign the paper because everything over $3.2 million is on the town. If it had been, I feel like if it had been maintained properly from the beginning, the drainage had been maintained properly from the beginning. I know you guys in DOT got problems. Everybody's got problems. Everybody's got potholes and drainage issues. But we're talking about this one road, and school buses travel that road. Residents travel that road. It's unsafe. pure and simple. And I told the DOT guy before Ms. What's her name? Sheen, yeah. I made a very big point of getting his name because I told him. He told me no. First of all, he just told me no. It's not in the plan. And I got his name so that I could contact WMUR and every newspaper anywhere around to say that this guy said it wasn't a problem if the bus goes off that road. You might think I'm being melodramatic, but I don't think so because I've traveled that road a lot. And at $3.2 million ain't going to get it. Isn't going to get it. Thank you for your time.
So Commissioner, this is a concern for the town of Tilton, that particular road. Obviously, it's an important road, very dear to the veterans home, and what goes on up there, as well as the school buses that travel up and down that road. It seems to be a sticking point for many years for the town of Tilton, but I'm not going to, create any sermon here, but there's obviously a shortfall in funding to do this road for that town to even consider taking it over. So what are the thoughts with DOT and what potentially might be some of the way ahead thinking? Because I don't think the town's really committed to signing this documentation.
Yeah. Thank you. So I don't sit here tonight with a solution to that. I'm very familiar with Lancaster Hill Road. I'll ask Caleb Hill Road. I'm sorry. So no, I'm not as familiar with Caleb Hill Road. Yeah, yes, I am. I know where Caleb Hill Road is. I know as you come around the sharp corner by the house on the corner with, I think they're big maple trees or oak trees, right out on the edge of the pavement. There are some challenges there, right? The last thing the state's gonna come in and want to do is change that curve and cut those trees and impact that property and change the character of your town and the location. We need the town's help with that. Well, $3 million may not seem like a lot. That's a tier 4 road for us, relatively low traffic volume. We have great needs all over the state for those tier 4 roads that do not get enough resources. So we will continue to talk about that with the town, but from where we sit tonight, the town's best option is that $3 million that was inserted into the budget by, I believe, a former senator who wanted you to have something and the ability to make some improvements there. So we will continue to talk to you. Nothing is cast in stone. You took a vote tonight that we're learning about now. So we'll talk about it. But from the DOT's perspective, that's a good chunk of funds going into a section of road that does need some help.
Thank you, Commissioner. Joe, are you done your questioning? Any? Okay. 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 All right. Pat.
Wonder why it's called the Tier 4 road, because the traffic on that road is probably as equal to the traffic on Main Street. Now it's a thorough way to get to the Samberton and the other ways up there. So it's not just people living on Caleb Hill Road that travel it. It's a throughway now to get to the other town. It's not just a road that people live on it. I don't understand why it's a tier 4. Can you explain?
Yeah, yes, I can. And now's not the appropriate time, but we can look at a map with the tiers, with the traffic volumes of all of these roads and have a conversation with the information in front of us. I think that would be the best way to go forward. I cannot concede sitting here that Caleb Hill Road carries the same traffic as Route 3. I'm going to tell you it doesn't, and I have the maps and the data that shows that.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you, Pat. So our next speaker is Chuck Mitchell.
I'm gonna pass.
Gonna pass? Okay. How about Kathy Mitchell?
Kathy Mitchell, Taylor Hill Road. I guess my concern for you is that we know Caleb Hill is in tough shape. If there's ever an accident between Franklin and, say, Dairy Queen, there's only one route that you're going to be able to use to get around Tilton or to get to other points, and that's Caleb Hill. We're sort of a safety valve there if things are shut down on Route 3. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is I've only lived there for 46 and a half years, so I don't have a lot of experience with it. But during the winter, if you drive down Killiff Hill, you will find the bells and whistles in your car are going off saying you're at a bad angle, you're in danger of tipping over. And we run into that year after year. A couple of years ago, you guys did a great job. You put a Band-Aid over this festering wound, and it's been great for the last year or so. It will not be great continuing. But if you're going to fix it, you're going to have to do one heck of a job to dig down and not just put another smooth Band-Aid on it, but you're going to have to really dig up everything. You're going to have to deal with the runoff, and the culverts don't work. They're not even close to working, and you're going to have to do that, and that's expensive. And the 3 million, it may be a start, but if you're going to do that road and expect us to take it over, it better be done well, or I don't want any part of it.
Yep, go ahead, Commissioner, would like to respond.
And what I'd like to say is first, thank you very much. And I agree with you. And there are a lot of my coworkers and engineers at the DOT who agree with you 100%. Again, the challenge we deal with is, yes, what I'm hearing tonight from Tilton is Caleb Hill Road, not Lancaster Hill Road. Caleb Hill Road is your priority, and it is important. But we have communities all over the state that have their own Caleb Hill Road. Our current strategy for pavement condition, and I hope you can agree, while far, far from perfect, is that 50 to 70,000 dollar a mile treatment of putting a thin pavement lift over these tier 4 roads just to hold them together, not to fix them the way any of us would like to fix them or think they should be fixed, but it's the most we can do with what we have. What Bill Oldenburg showed you tonight in the funding scenario is the money that we've been able to put that 50 to 70,000 miles or dollars a mile into these tier 4 roads is going away in this 10-year plan cycle. So we have a challenge to bring that back just to do that work. And that's a reason why I can sit here and say $3 million is a good sum of money. I hear you. It's not enough for what you want, and I don't take away your point. I can tell you to a large extent, we agree with you. We just have a lot of these needs across the state. So thank you for your comments, and please understand, it's not that we disagree with you. It's that we have a finite amount of resources in which we operate.
Thank you. Our next speaker would be, is it Jane Manning or Jake? Oh, Jane. Okay.
I live on the early part. Oh, I don't probably need that. Oh, okay. In 2017, I spent a considerable amount of money to fix the edge of my driveway near the road. And I live on the very end of Caleb Hill Road where the giant ice rink was, across from Pat Clark. Does everybody know where Pat Clark lives? Okay, so I had an ice rink out on the road. It was on the road. The ice was on the road. So my husband and I spent a considerable amount of money to repair our driveway in 2017. And at that point, there was no culvert at the end of our driveway. And then a year later, the state came through and ripped out all the work that I had done and spent a considerable amount of money fixing my driveway for us so that we'd be safe. They put a culvert in and replaced over the culvert with less than standard things that I paid tons of money to put in there. And so the job that they came through and did was not as good as the job I paid someone else to do for my safety. And since then, we've had to go over this culvert year after year because it was put in poorly, and the sand washes away into our neighbor's driveway, and he's out there digging sand out of his driveway. And so if they're going to come and do work, which we were not notified that they were digging up my driveway, we just came out the one day and we were leaving the house and we're just like, oh my gosh, we couldn't even get out because the entire driveway was dug up, putting a culvert in. The culvert did help with the ice dam, but it's been an additional cost for me after spending thousands and thousands of dollars to repair one section of driveway that the state came in and destroyed in one day. So I don't know what I can do to get that fixed. So if they're coming out to do work on Caleb Hill Road, they need to notify us of what they're doing and do it properly and put in the same materials that we paid money to have put in on our own expense. So if they're going to make repairs, they need to notify us, and we need to get quality materials replaced, because it's really been a burden for us to keep replacing all this stuff that keeps washing away every day since they put the culvert in. Thank you.
Do we have any response to that, Commissioner, or is that a kind of a regional maintenance thing?
I hear your comments. I will give you my card after this presentation and we can talk. Thank you.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Next speaker is Steve O'Leary. Steve O'Leary.
Good evening. My name is Stephen O'Leary. My concern is about the roundabout. If we put a roundabout there, you got a four-way intersection. There's 4 crosswalks in that intersection. What are you going to do about those? Because you can't have crosswalks in a roundabout because the traffic ain't going to stop for you. Or you're going to stop it, it's going to create more accidents than what it's really worth. So I would appreciate that they don't put it on School Street, because I have lived there for 30-something years and I have never had a problem with it. We had a problem with the crosswalks in 95. My son got hit going to school, walking across that crosswalk, and nothing was done because I went to the state and nothing was done. They didn't even change the speed limit. So I just hope they don't put a roundabout there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker would be Tom Damon.
Those of you fortunate enough not to know me, my name is Tom Damon, and I live at the last house on Caleb Hill Road. Over the years, we've seen the state come and go, and the last time they skimmed the road, they fixed a culvert. I have a culvert in the middle of my property that drains 1,000 feet of road. 1,000 feet of road. I had the road director in my kitchen telling me they weren't going to do about it, and we're watching a 20-foot wide column of water go by my living room. Now I went out there today and the head wall is collapsing. Now I'm a 22-year veteran of road construction and commercial construction. I know how to build a head wall, and that's not how to build it. It's collapsing. He told me we weren't going to do anything about it. I've gone down Caleb Hill Road on a winter's day, right after a storm, whether it was raining or snowing, by the Mr. Perrin's old house, and seen 6 inches of ice on the road. And when a school bus comes down that road and it hits that ice, we're gonna have a catastrophic event on our hands. You see little kids seeing a school bus going through a stone wall, and getting hurt, and having the ambulance out there. Who are we gonna go to? Now my property's been devalued because I have water in my cellar now. I'm sick and tired of this. I want action. I want the state to come and fix this. Put another culvert in. They don't want to do that. They don't want to spend 5 cents. I'll dig it myself. I know how to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Damon. Any response, Commissioner? Or do you think Mr. Damon has said it?
I hear Mr. Damon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker would be, is it Dick Olson?
Howdy, guys. I'm going to have a popular opinion. I'm just kind of for the roundabout a little bit. Downtown's kind of dumpy right now how it is. We leave light poles and we put more poles and we have power poles. We don't look to bury anything. I guess we just kind of turn a blind eye. So how could it get any worse? We worry about an island, but downtown's a dump. We complain about being a dump, but we don't do anything. So what's a roundabout? They haven't even, had engineers. We just have people trying turns in trucks with things there. Sometimes things need to be moved. Maybe we should at least see the design. That's all. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Our next speaker would be Cheryl Howard.
Good starting point. Very good.
Thank you, Campton. Thank you. Our next speaker is Ed, and how do you say your last name? Is it Perigo? Okay, Ed.
My comment would just be, I don't think it's a very safe and smooth flowing intersection at the bottom of School Street and Main Street. It's confusing. A friend of mine actually just was hit on a motorcycle just a couple days ago there. Woman pulled out, saw him, and then instead of continuing on, she stopped right in his path and he had no time to react. So there may only be 35 or however many accidents in the last X amount of time, but I'd say there's a hell of a lot more close calls and potential, potential accidents that were avoided. But I don't know if a rotary is the answer, but I would just say have engineers evaluate the intersection and to maintain an unsafe or a choppy flow of traffic for the sake of something that was put in there 50 years ago when traffic was completely different, such as a statue or the island. Times change. I mean, things maybe have to be relocated to a different or better part of the town. That's all. It's not the end of the world if a statue has to be relocated. It happens. My opinion.
Thank you. Our next speaker would be Nathan. And how do you say your last name, Nathan? Langione. Thank you, Nathan. You're up.
That's you.
Hi. So I was wondering what the problem that the roundabout is trying to solve is. Is it purely a safety thing or purely a traffic flow thing or a combination of both?
I can just say that we don't know. So we didn't put the project in. The community, Tilton, working with the Regional Planning Commission, put the project in the 10-year plan. We haven't started to look at it. So I, I don't have the application that was submitted, but I, we don't know what it's trying to solve because we haven't even started to look at it yet.
Okay. When was the last time that a traffic study was conducted on the West Main Street through East Main Street section? Just as far as informing the decisions being made.
Order study? Was there one that you're aware of?
Could you speak up just a little bit?
I don't know. I'm not sure when the last quarter study was done, if there was one.
Thank you. So I think that for the Main Street roundabout area, doing additional signage and doing, painted directional arrows, adding new crosswalks, potentially relocating some of the existing crosswalks further back from that intersection could do a lot as far as helping with the safety and the traffic flow. Regardless of what option is taken, I think there should be a traffic study done just to inform the plans going forward. But in terms of increasing traffic flow for Main Street, I think the intersection signal timing needs to be adjusted and synchronized for the Tilton stretch, if not the Franklin through Laconia stretch, because I live on Winter Street and I broke my foot earlier this summer and spent a good 6 weeks on my front porch watching the traffic head down to the Park Street intersection. And traffic only moves in one direction at a time for the most part, and there is rarely any kind of gap. So I think there is an existing timing and synchronization issue with that route that could solve some of the existing problems. Adding right and left turn lanes to the Park Street intersection would definitely help with traffic flow. I know it's been rejected in the past due to the width of the street and 18-wheelers being able to make those turns, but I've been here less than a year and seen dozens of instances of trucks waiting for the green light to turn red to then take the turn without any traffic, left or right. I've been on the bridge and had, trucks going with the light and go all the way into the left-hand turn lane there in order to swing around. So I'm not sure trucks will able to make those turns legally within the traffic light timing, regardless of whether or not that intersection stays as is or is updated at some point in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. How's your leg doing? Good. That's good. Excellent. Our next speaker is Christine Farrington.
Hi, I'm Christine Farrington, and I live on Range Road, which is off Caleb Hill Road. It's a dirt road. And the culverts that are on at the end of Range Road onto Caleb Hill Road are a mess. I just wanted to let you know that. And the town does not maintain my roads, so my husband passed away recently and he was taking care of the road and it's washed out at the end. So I just wanted to let you know that. And I agree with Mr. Jessamine and Miss Mitchell as far as the condition of the road. That's it.
Well, thank you so much for your input. Tuesday Perkins?
Hi. So I want to just say that I agree with a lot of the comments that have been made about the Rotary. What I would suggest is that we take a look at the Meredith Rotary and a couple of the other Rotaries that are really close in vicinity to us, and the amount of traffic that it actually causes, um, as opposed to it actually helping. It causes very long backups because let's think in the world that we're in right now, a lot of people don't know how to drive. And a rotary doesn't make it any better because you're just going to cause backups. People coming from the Franklin area, they're going to back it up way past that light because they're not going to go around the rotary in the right amount of time. So I love that the town of Tilton is turning that down. It's amazing. Why don't we take that money that you're going to throw at that rotary or whatever we're going to do down there and put it towards Caleb Hill Road? Solution solved. Thank you.
Well, I see the commissioner is writing down notes on that one. I'm going to ask you how you got the name Tuesday, by the way. It's Thursday. It's Thursday today. Lynn, is it Marcoux?
Well, for the most part, I agree with what everybody's been saying. I do not believe that a rotary in town would work. You have basically a four-way traffic. You've also got all the businesses around there. How would they get access to their properties? Yes, there are a little bit of a safety concern. However, I've been here my entire life and I have never once heard of a fatal, never mind a serious accident. Um, I think there's more fender benders in the local grocery store. Um, I think one thing that might help is if they put the traffic speed, which you guys do have control over, down to say 20 instead of the 30 that is currently there. And let's face it, who travels the actual speed limit? So they're going at least 35 coming around that corner into town. If that wasn't um, the way things were, I think the reason for the whole rotary thing would be gone. I mean, you had on the slide, it said the reason that they were doing it is for safety. There really isn't safety. I think it's more of a problem with people that just don't understand how to use what's been there, and anybody that's been here any length of time knows how to use that section.
Thank you. Bill, is it, I'm not, I see Lawrence, but it's not Lawrence. What, is it Lawrence? Oh, Bill Lawrence, you're up. He left? Okay. Well, we're getting to the end of the blue cards here, but does anybody have any other questions that they would like to get up and that haven't filled out a blue card? If you haven't filled out a blue card and you're raising your hands, raise your hand, fill out a blue card, and speak.
I'd like to speak again.
Okay, if you could just state your name again.
My name is Steve O'Leary, and the gentleman was talking about traffic count. What I found, even when they put in the lights where Walgreen is and used to be Shaw's. When I asked about the traffic count, they says, "Oh, we did the count from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock." And my comment was, at that time was, what about the morning traffic? The afternoon traffic was backing up, and the weekend traffic. Oh, we don't work weekends. If you're going to do a traffic count in downtown Tilton, I would recommend it from 6 o'clock to 8:30 in the morning, and then 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening to see how much traffic is in Tilton at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it R.D. Anderson? Andy Anderson, okay, got it.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Andy Anderson. I'm a newbie in town, but I have lived in Tilton Main Street for 2 years now. My living room points to the Rotary area they're talking about, and it's always been a concern of mine. I don't think you want to take the statues out. I certainly appreciate the historical part. There are 7 ways to go in that intersection. People come out of the laundromat, they turn right, they turn left, they try to go into the gas station. I have stood up there. I mean, I get to the point now where I actually hear the brakes and I'm waiting for the crash. It happens that often. It's frightening out there. It looks like I'm in Italy and they're going around a roundabout. I've never seen anything so insane. You've got cars coming everywhere. They just stop and look confused. I think a study is definitely warranted. Some videotapes of what actually happens throughout the day and the night. Um, I'm just.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Andy, welcome to town. Wayne Jakes? Jacques. Jacques? Like Jacques. Wayne Jacques, okay. Coming.
Sorry, I was at the other end.
I've lived in the area my whole life and gone through Tilton a lot. I live on School Street and come down. And I personally feel that the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign you cannot see. It needs to be put, and it should be changed to 20, and that'll help. And then if they could put some additional road markings to let people know how to make a turn. And the rotary isn't going to speed things up because the traffic light slows you down. At the light, it's not I come down School Street, I come down in my motorhome towing a car, and I can make it through that intersection. Got to have patience. A lot of people don't want to have that. They got to hurry and, but traffic light needs to be squared away. I was going toward Franklin, and it was backed all the way to Dairy Queen, waiting on that light at around 2. Made the light go longer, straight through, it would help. Slow them down, 20 miles an hour. Not that anybody will go by it, but we have policemen and once in a while they can stop people. Anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Jacques.
Thank you.
Commissioner, we had this question of how do you reduce, a speed sign that's owned by the state? What is the process for that?
Yeah, so I will give you my card and we will talk about that. I will say, and I got to do some more homework on this. I think Tilton's special when it comes to speed limit. I think that there was a law that your legislators helped pass to give Tilton the ability to have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in downtown because the statewide minimum speed limit is 30 miles per hour. So that has been heard and addressed. I will want to do some homework on that and talk to you so that I can tell you facts, not what I think. Okay, so.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. Pat, you have a question?
Absolutely. Yes.
I left some of my cards up front there if you want any.
Call him first, please.
I still haven't changed it. I don't know why, but I haven't changed it. Um, so is there any other folks that would like to ask a question of DOT? Do we have an airport nearby at all? No airports. That's
in
okay.
Guilford,
Laconia,
yeah,
Guilford, yeah. Any EV charging station proposals or? They already got one? Okay. Okay, Joe Jessman.
My question is with regard to Silver Lake. It doesn't come. So trying to make a left turn. And there's no turn lane, but somebody wants to make a left turn and it's stop dead. Everybody backs up.
Yep, he did.
And at all. So I'm not asking a question. I'm planting the seed. Oh yeah. But we got their attention, right?
Yes. Yeah, yes, sir.
You can speak and then I'll give you the card.
You can fill out a card and speak at the same time.
My name is Robert Hardy. I live on Winter Street, and I just like where Joe's bringing up other roads to look at. I'd like the state to look at Winter Street. I mean, there used to be a 3-foot ditch in front of the veterans home. DOT allowed the veterans home to fill that ditch line in so they could mow instead of having to weed whack there. Now all the runoff from the additional expansion comes out, jumps out into the road, runs down the road, runs across the road, and runs into my driveway. I've had to put sandbags out in heavy storms to keep it in a little bit of ditch along the road. My neighbor has sandbags out. We've talked to DOT in the past. Oh, it's nothing we can do about it. So I just like to ask them to look at it again. Thank you, Joe.
Yep, thank you. And well, you have to wait. We got another hand over here in the front row. Okay. Jacques, you have one more question?
No, I'll, when I get my card from him.
Okay. So are there any more questions, any more input that folks would like to speak to with regards to DOT?
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for, in that case, I'm gonna wrap it up to say that if you have any further questions, you can submit them right up until November 3rd to Bill Watson. That's his email, and you can provide more input to any issues in the area. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight, providing their input, and all your comments will be taken under advisement. So I hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. You did a great job, guys.
How you doing?
You did really good tonight. You didn't have to take any of your
Yes, nice to meet you too. And
You cover the outhouse? Get the blue card.
That's
You get 'em?
under BEA.
Oh, I got it.
jurisdiction now.
Last gentleman.
When they
Oh,
cut
yeah.
our budget years ago,
Yeah.
those were turned over to
Absolutely.
BEA.
What is
BEA is business something. You call me, we're gonna talk about speed limits, and I'll give you BEA's information as well. It's awful. It's awful. The money.
I went to Sanford and no, and they didn't even lock the toilet paper rolls in. Everybody's just stealing it, you know?
Oh, yeah. You just,
A woman went to go, the one I was in, the one in Northfield, she went to go in there. I said, ladies, you don't want to go in there. I said, men don't even want to go in there, so you know it's bad. So she hooked it up through, that was when they were closed because of so.
But I didn't bring up, because everybody's talking about speed limit.